At midnight, the world loses its final nuclear safety net. Russia declares it is no longer bound by limits on its nuclear arsenal. The last guardrails between Washington and Moscow are gone. New START expires, ending all remaining constraints on nuclear weapons. No extensions, no inspections, no verification. The final safeguard of the Cold War era has collapsed. At midnight, a pillar of global security quietly collapses. After 15 years, the last remaining nuclear arms control treaty between Russia and the United States is officially dead. On February 5, 2026, New START expires, ending the final limits on the world's two largest nuclear arsenals. No extensions, no inspections, no binding restraints. Russia says it did not choose this moment, but it is prepared for it. Russia's foreign ministry confirms that the treaty's collapse follows years of what it calls unacceptable U.S. actions, accusing Washington of undermining the agreement through missile defense expansion and what Moscow describes as material breaches of trust. In 2023, Russia suspended its participation, calling it a forced response to a radically changed security environment. Yet even as relations deteriorated, the treaty still worked. New START reduced deployed nuclear warheads by nearly 30%. It slowed the arms race. It provided predictability in a world increasingly defined by chaos. And even after suspending the pact, Russia says it voluntarily respected its core limits right up to the final day. Last year, President Vladimir Putin made one final offer, a proposal to extend the treaty's limits voluntarily for one more year after its expiration. Moscow says Washington never answered. Public comments from the United States, Russia says, made clear the silence was deliberate. Now the consequences are real. With the treaty gone, neither side is bound by caps on nuclear warheads. There are no inspections, no verification, no guardrails.
The president drew attention to the fact that tomorrow, February 5th, the term of the treaty on the limitation of strategic offensive arms is set to expire. As you are aware, we put forward a proposal to the American side on the 22nd of September 2025, suggesting the extension for an additional year of the central quantitative limits intended to function as voluntary self-restrictions. However, an official response from the American side has not yet been received.
Russia says it will act responsibly and in a balanced manner, but also warns it is prepared to take decisive military technical measures to defend its security. The language is calm, the message is not. In Washington, the response is cautious and conditional. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says any future arms control deal must include China, whose nuclear arsenal is growing rapidly, even if it remains smaller than those of Russia and the United States. President Donald Trump once called Russia's proposal a good idea, but talks never followed.
While there does seem to be a framework, at least when it comes to security guarantees, when it comes to any territorial disputes, there does not seem to be much movement one way or the other. Is there any progress being made on that front, and do critical minerals play into those conversations? And separately, sir, if I could also ask about the New START treaty with Russia that expires tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't have any announcement on New START right now. I think the president will opine on it later. Obviously, you know, the president's been clear in the past that in order to have true arms control in the 21st century, it's impossible to do something that doesn't include China because of their vast and rapidly growing stockpile. On the question of the talks, they're today and tomorrow in Abu Dhabi. Look, the good news is that for the first time in a very long time, we have technical military teams from both Ukraine and Russia meeting in a forum that will also be involved within our experts. Steve Woodcoff and Jared Kushner will also be attending for part of that, and we think that's important. And look, I don't want to say talks alone are progress, but it's good that there's engagement going on. I would also caution everyone that on things like this, because there's a lot of sensitivities involved in it, progress is probably not going to be known, even via leaks, until we really have a breakthrough. Our goal is to remain committed. We've committed a year to this. We think we've made real progress. If you look at the checklist of open items that existed at this time last year and the checklist of open items that remain now in terms of reaching a peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia, that list has been substantially diminished. That's the good news. The bad news is that the items that remain are the most difficult ones. And meanwhile, the war continues. So all I can say in that regard is that we are investing at a very high level a substantial amount of time and energy to this endeavor. We are going to continue to do everything we can to see if there's a breakthrough. And one of the things to understand about ending armed conflicts is oftentimes it looks totally hopeless until you have this breakthrough that sometimes is unforeseen. That was certainly the experience with Gaza, where a lot of people thought that was a hopeless situation, but we kept pushing and pushing, and then circumstances aligned and made it possible. And obviously, that's what we're going to endeavor to do here as well. As far as the talks are concerned, I think the Iranians had agreed to a certain format. For whatever reason, it's changed in their system or what have you. We'll see if we can get back to the right place. But the United States is prepared to meet with them. I think it was scheduled for Friday. Steve is ready to go. He'll be prepared for that. If the Iranians want to meet, we're ready. They've expressed an interest in meeting and talking. If they change their mind, we're fine with that too. We prefer to meet and talk. I'm not sure you can reach a deal with these guys, but we're going to try to find out. We don't see there's any harm in trying to figure out there's something that can be done. This is a president that always prefers a peaceful outcome to any conflict or any challenge.
Around the world, alarm bells are ringing. The Vatican issues an appeal to prevent a new arms race. Nuclear watchdogs warn the collapse of New START could trigger a dangerous escalation. More warheads, more delivery systems, more exercises.
Tomorrow, the New START Treaty, signed in 2010 by the Presidents of the United States and the Russian Federation, is set to expire. This agreement represented a truly significant step in efforts to contain the proliferation of nuclear weapons. In renewing my encouragement for every constructive effort towards disarmament and mutual trust, I extend an urgent invitation not to let this instrument fall without striving to ensure its concrete and effective follow-up. The current global situation demands that we make every conceivable effort to prevent a new arms race from emerging, which would further jeopardize the delicate peace between all nations.
The doomsday clock moves closer to midnight. Germany blames Moscow. Moscow blames Washington. The reality is stark. For the first time in decades, the world's two largest nuclear powers face each other without a single binding arms control agreement. The Cold War's final safeguards are gone. What comes next will depend not on treaties, but on restraint. And in a world defined by distrust, restraint is no longer guaranteed.